Hi, everyone. So glad for you guys to be able to join us on today on our very first Level Up episode. We're going to have several speakers who are going to talk about entrepreneurship and the different ways that we can level up and get into the business experience. So let's go ahead and get started with bringing on our guest. Hi, Frank. Hi, Braxton.
How are you?
Hi, Brian. Welcome, you guys. Welcome so much. We're looking at one more person who's going to be joining us soon. So we're going to go ahead and get started while she joins us shortly. But let's get to doing some introductions. I'm going to first start off with myself. I am the community CMO for One2Gration. And One2Gration is just a community platform where we help to bring together other businesses to be able to inspire and help them elevate and grow. On this panel, we have very distinguished guests. Let's start with you, Braxton. Braxton is from Prestige Business Brokers, and he is actually a broker who's in the business of buying and selling. We have Brian Woods, who is in the franchise business and really leading in that space. And we have Frank, who is a serial entrepreneur, who's been an entrepreneur for many years and has experience across so many various levels. So welcome, you guys. I'm so excited to have you guys join us. So to get started, one of the first questions I want to kind of present to you, and we'll start off with you, Braxton, as a young entrepreneur, and one of the things is that there's a lot of different ways that people think about entering the business space. But one of those ways they don't really consider is sometimes the broker side, which is actually buying a business. So tell us a little bit more about you and what that looks like from a broker, what that experience looks like.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I am a former entrepreneur myself, and this business brokerage is a third startup. But looking at it from the business broker standpoint, have started multiple businesses now. Buying a business is a very efficient way to get started. It does require some funding. There's creative ways to do that, and we can talk about that later into our webinar. But through acquiring businesses, you are acquiring a cash flowing business right off the bat versus startup. And startup's a great way to also get into business. But for an entrepreneur that wants to get going quicker and gain some fast traction with a foundation is through business acquisition. And so like going off the question, opportunities in the market and to start a business. Really, there's so many ways to go about this, and a biggest deal is getting out in the marketplace and just understanding what you like to do and applying your vision and your dreams of what business looks like, and going out and meeting other business owners in the area and familiarizing yourself with the market. And then start figuring out what does that look like for you to acquire a business. Because what's so cool about buying a business is you buy based off a multiple. And so when you buy a business, you're buying the clientele, you're buying a business that has assets already in place. And it's just a much more streamlined way to get going. And I'm not sure how far in depth we want to go on detail, but I just really want to encourage to, think about acquiring businesses because it's a great model.
Well, I'm going to go in with Brian because I think you're going to bring a different perspective to that as well. Because, you have the idea of buying businesses, but there's also, I think, that franchise experience that comes with it, which is its own unique thing. Can you speak on that, Brian?
Absolutely, yeah. Franchising actually can be both on the startup side as well as the acquisition side. So I know, people have acquired, franchise businesses. I've actually acquired one myself personally. But from the franchise development perspective, it's very attractive because you already, you're starting from scratch, right? This is not an acquisition, but if you're starting a business from scratch, the franchise model allows you to have a playbook, right, already set up that allows you to understand how to market your business. It'll give you the technology you need. It'll help you to understand your books and all your numbers and your budgeting. It gives you operational support. So there's a lot of great support that comes with the franchise model that pretty much reduces the risk of failure, right? And there's a statistic that I always like to tell people that for franchise businesses after 5 years, 85% of them are still in business. Whereas you look at a business that's not franchised after 5 years, only 50% are in business. So you have like a 35% improvement in success rate when you actually do franchise because of the risk is reduced because you're following a proven successful model.
Okay. So Frank, I think you have experience in both areas, starting from scratch and actually developing your own franchise. But can you really kind of key in like what are some of the experiences or things that people should consider if they're going to start from scratch and come up with like from ideation on, or what did that look like for you?
Well, when establishing any business, you have to determine, is there a need for the type of service that you're trying to provide? How do you identify that need, and how do you reach that market? How do you go there? And a lot depends on the industry, but one of the key ingredients that I take a look at when trying to establish any kind of business is the margin structure, how that business is established. If you're looking at a business that's got a 20% margin, a 30% margin structure, it's very different than one that has 80%. And so you have a lot more room to run when you got an 85% margin business versus one that's kind of 30 to 40% margin business. So that's kind of how you establish that. And then I look at what I call structural overhead, like how do you get past the point of keeping your overhead low in a business, and that's really important to in terms of business sustainability. How do you keep your overhead low? So our success has been one of the things is that we have a very low overhead structure, and so you can have an opportunity to make a mistake and still be able to survive that. So.
Well, that's good. We just caught Lily, so hopefully she'll join. Lily, so excited to have you. The one thing with webinars is we all know in technology in general that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Lily, if you want to do a quick introduction of yourself, that'd be great. And then we just lost her again. So we'll see if we'll get her back on that one. But okay, so let's go into the next question, and hopefully Lily joined for us because we actually wanted to ask her that question. A lot of people are very fearful, especially when get into this space of entrepreneurship. People are coming from, either working in corporations or even in Braston. I think he was just born to actually start a business. He just went straight from doing it in high school. But there's usually some situations where people are a little bit fearful of failing or wondering about how to get funded in this space. This is why we brought Lily on, because she is an expert in her area. So Lily, we were talking about just the different types of ways that people could get in business before you joined. And now we want to talk about, that they need that support and that, to be able to step out on that. And one of the things that you help a lot of businesses do is understand what that looks like from a funding perspective. So you want to, give us a little bit of insight into that?
Yeah. So when it comes to funding, there is conventional loans. And then there's SBA when it comes to my bank is Frost Bank. So I specialize in SBA. So SBA is great when it comes to franchising, startups, especially startups. And the reason why I say that is because less collateral, right? And if you have more debt, then you more qualify for when it comes to conventional loan, SBA is great. So that is what we want. We usually look and see if you qualify for the conventional loan. And then we go, if not, then we go with SBA. So SBA is very similar to any conventional loan. It's just the best part is backing by the government. So most banks feel like, since we have backup from the government, we are more secure to lend more to more people, to more startups, to more company, and we're able to lend more than usually when it comes to conventional. For example, like today, we have a loan that is about, they ask for 150, but when it comes to the conventional side, they only give about 75. But since we have an SBA back our side, we were able to do 150 for them. So it's more secured.
So other areas on there, because I mean, fear is a huge factor when people are entering into this space. What are some things that you guys recommend when people are looking to get into entrepreneurship, things they should consider to get over that hump? Like what made you guys decide to jump into this space? Brian, did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I could definitely do that. And from the franchising side, one of the things that really helps people who are looking to get into entrepreneurship, what helps them get over that hump is what we call validation. So that means having a whole lot of conversations with existing entrepreneurs and business owners, preferably doing what they're trying to do, right? And, it's pretty much an interview. And, this candidate gets to ask all kinds of questions. What do you like about it? What are some of the hardships? What are the biggest obstacles? What do you enjoy about it? Because we found that the more information that these candidates can get from people that actually do this on a day-to-day basis, the more comfortable they are in making that transition. And, and that's the whole thing about the franchising, world, is because everything is all around systems and process. So the more process and systems that can be articulated from the ones that's doing it, that gives people the confidence and the assurance that they can actually do it as well.
So Braxton, would you have anything to add on that? I mean, I think you're probably one of the youngest entrepreneurs we have on here. What really led you to jump into this space?
Yeah, sure thing. So, I mean, I've got a lot to add on this because fear is a big part of life and especially entrepreneurship itself. And we're all in different parts of the business, but I mean, to go from the start, from being a startup or being one to acquire a business, no matter what, you're going to come across fear. And so it's understanding that there will be struggles and hard times in entrepreneurship, but it's about the reward of overcoming those obstacles. Especially once you talk to many business owners, you understand that every day they look at it as today they're going to go solve another problem with employees or customers. But if you have that understanding and that pre-concept, it can actually be motivating when you come across those, because now that is you understand you're on the right track of overcoming to become greater. And so I think it's important to base off of experience level from the entrepreneurship is to start small, start with where you're at, because we can try to, in an analogy, eat an elephant at a time. Well, you got to start just eating one bite at a time. And so if you just start small, start with where you're at and get educated. I like how Brian said to find validation, get out, network, learn the market, learn who you're working with and what that looks like for you to step into a business, to acquire a business, start up a business. But then most importantly, I think is once you've educated yourself is to then start a business plan, get a plan in place, because it's important for entrepreneurial journey, for self growth, is to have a plan in place, because without a plan we'll fail. And so then once you have a plan, then you start finding resources, and then life starts to evolve around your plan, and you start seeing things fall into place. And it's power of intention, and you'll start creating the business ideas and plans, and it'll all start to fall into place. But and that's important when a new business owner wants to take over a business. Is the first step is, what are you going to do with this business to make it more profitable, to grow it, and to ultimately be successful? And you have to start with a plan, use what you know to better the business, and have that written out. And then I think the biggest deal too is to limit your excuses, because excuses are a limiting belief. And so if you learn in the entrepreneurial world and as being a business owner to limit those excuses and say, like, I'm going to be greater than the obstacles that come my way, because as a business owner, it's our job to solve a problem for another person, and then we get paid for that. So the bigger problems you solve, the bigger pay you're going to receive. And so I think it's just important to understand what business you're getting into and how you're going to solve a problem for someone else and then get paid for that.
And Lily, I think one of the things he mentioned was a business plan. I'm assuming that's a huge, important factor when people are looking to get that resources and support, is making sure that they have a valid business plan so that you guys can see that they are prepared and ready to take it to the next level. Is that a good assumption, or one of the things that's necessary?
Oh, yes. Business plan is definitely a must. We won't even explore the options for, doing a loan unless you have that business plan, because your business plan is, for lack of a better word, but your Bible, right? It tells you exactly what you want to do with your business, your goal, the structure of it, who's going to be the owner. So it's really important to have that. And it kind of just lists everything out when it comes to your business, especially your goals in about 5 years or something too. That's really important to put in there. What we usually do when it comes to, on my side, is we have like a template that we want everything to be on there. Like the time that you open, like what do you expect? Who's your competition? Things like that. It is all in that business plan.
So Frank, can you kind of add on to that? Because I know you've been doing this for a while in planning, and I think Brian, all you guys agree is essential and key on there. But especially for like planning for the future, you start on the business plan on there. Typically, what do you look like to try to forecast for 5 years out? What does that look like for you?
Well, I think in today's world, some of that stuff has kind of changed because of the acceleration of technology and tools that may have been available today versus when I started for 40-something years ago. It's just mind-boggling, the stuff that I have access to that I didn't have then. But I think let's talk franchising for a second. One of the great things about franchising, and Brian might want to opine on this, is that you're buying already into a working business model, and what you're trying to do is take that business model from one zip code to another zip code and apply the same principles that's already established, already set up. All of the things that make that machine work are already in place. You just have to go execute it. And execution then becomes more of a personal thing, your personal motivation, your personal drive, and that kind of thing. But relationships are critically important in any kind of business endeavor. And so you have to do that as well. And some of these relationships might not necessarily be in the community that you're working in, but it could be from some far off place that will give you the access to it. But the great part about it is that you have this little thing in your hand that in the click of a button, you can reach out and get an idea and maybe help solve a problem. Whereas before you may have spent an inordinate amount of time trying to fix the problem. Today, you can fix that instantaneously. So that's some of the advantages that I see today.
While you say that, let's get into community, because I think community is key. One of the things on my early entrepreneurial journey is learning that we can't really do things in a silo, right? Especially if you want to be very effective in a business world. You guys all touched on it, like networking and connecting. How important would you guys say community is to being successful in the different spaces on there? So we'll touch off with you, Brian. First, we'll go with you and what your input is on community and what that looks like.
Community is absolutely important, especially for a business, because business really revolves around relationships. And when you're in the community, you're networking, you're getting to know people within your community. There's ways to do that kind of expedites that by being a part of your chambers of commerce, business networking groups, et cetera. That helps you to build those relationships so that when, a certain need comes up in a certain circle, they will think of you, right? And then in addition to just the networking side, actually investing in your community. So sponsoring different community events, doing toy drives, doing things like that. That serves two purposes. One is you're really giving back and paying it forward to your community, but then two, that's also higher exposure and marketing for your business as well, and that's helping you to build those relationships. So it always starts with community. It always going to end with community with me as a business owner as well as a franchisor. And we really encourage all of our franchise owners to get out there in the community and really build those relationships.
And I think, Lily, that's something big on Frost Bank, right? I think you guys are very big about being in the local community because that's where you're able to engage and let people know you care. You kind of want to touch on that as well?
Yeah. Frost Bank is a big bank, but it also has a very small community feel, right? So we have different community leader in different branches. And so they reach out to different communities within the area to, network, to know that we are not just a bank, but we're a relationship bank. We want to build that relationship with other businesses, with other just member of the community. We think it's important because, we learn from other people and people can learn from us. So education is really important to us, and we want to educate other people that is, involved in the community. And that way they can learn from us and we can learn from them. So that's really important to us.
Yeah. And I think, Braxton, you've really been, tapping into that. I know you attended several networking events and put yourself out there as well. How has your experience been like getting into community for helping you to kind of grow in this space?
Yeah, community is everything. And I'm a big fan of networking at networking events, but just in the everyday life. You never know who you come across and how you might be a benefit to someone else and add value to their business, or how they might add value to our business. And I think importantly, a quote I like to refer back to is, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I like that.
And so that's very important for business, is to understand to not just have a goal mindset with the business, but have a growth mindset. And so to grow your business and grow yourself to the place of and the level of success that you want to be at. And so just changing your perspective, and growth only happens, I believe, with the people around us. And we all have an opportunity to grow one another and grow our network. And it's kind of cliche, but your network is really your net worth. And the more you get out and meet people, the more you understand that.
Okay. And now, Frank, I'll let you kind of input on that too. And I think I will add this piece before, say is that's why we even do things like this, right? The webinars and everything we're doing is just to hopefully inspire others and pour back into the community and pour back, insights and things like that. I feel like as entrepreneurs and as people out there in the community, it should be our goal and our objective to be able to make people feel like this is a step that they can take and feel secure in doing so that people can find their purpose and grow in their purpose each and every single day. So, Frank, do you have anything else to add in the community? I think you have some long-standing time in, being an entrepreneur. I think the longest time as an entrepreneur in this group. What would you add?
Well, I think there's two kinds of communities. There's a community at large, and then there's a community within the industry that you are actually serving in. So I'm in the automotive space, and so I've been in that space since 1985. So I rely a lot for my business, because it's kind of a niche kind of business. So I rely on relationships inside the business itself, because a lot of the things that transpire in my business, they're all connected. What I mean by that is I may have a client in Dallas that has a sister store in Houston. or sister business in California. So if I'm selling a franchise to someone out in LA, and that my franchisee is talking to someone at that dealership in LA, and I'm in Dallas, but I know that the person in Dallas might know the person in LA, they make that call for me. So it makes it easier for my franchisee to connect with a particular business. And so you have the larger community, and then you also have the community within the industry that you're dealing in. And so that has been one of my success models that has really helped grow our business, especially from a franchise standpoint, because I can build a franchise business in places far from where I live. And that's what we're trying to do now with the business that we're in.
Okay, so this will be like we'll do another question here. And so for those who are on the cusp or deciding whether or not they want to get into the entrepreneurship space, what would be one piece of advice or one thing that you would tell them, for them to, kind of get them to make that jump? What would be that one piece of advice? Let's start with you, Brian.
I would probably have someone start doing their due diligence on the industry that they're looking to get involved in, doing a little bit of a competitive analysis, understanding who's the major players in their market. I think we talked about it as well. Entrepreneurs, we solve problems, right? What is the biggest problem that you can solve from a business perspective? Because that's going to pretty much estimate the amount of business prospects that you can have. So really, truly understanding the competitive landscape in that industry to see that you can actually do it. And then the other piece I would mention is financing, right? Really make sure you understand what it really takes to get your business off the ground. Financing is usually one of the biggest reasons why businesses go out of business because they run out of capital. So I would make sure that people understand the industry and their financing options to do it.
So Lily, let's jump to you since he talked about financing. Someone's looking to consider to jump into entrepreneurship. What would be something that you recommend from your years of experience in dealing with a lot of small businesses?
I always say, ask yourself, how much risk are you willing to take when it comes to your business, right? And how passionate are you? And like Brian said, how knowledgeable are you when it comes to your business, right? It's not just good for your own business, but that as a bank, that's what we would ask too. Exactly how much risk are you willing to take for your business? So there are other financing options, right? One is investor, one is a partnership, one is a silent partner, things like that. And yes, of course, you have, banks that you can go to. When we do a loan for somebody, we always want to make sure that they have some type of experience. Mm-hmm. So they need to do their own research. If they don't have that much experience, who is going to be helping them? So it goes back into everything. It's how much are you willing to learn about your business and how much passion and how much work are you going to put in there? Those are the questions I would ask.
Okay. Frank, what about you? They're about to, what would a piece of advice would you give?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that to have a passion for what you're trying to do. You really have to love what you're doing, because if you don't love it, you're not going to like it. And that's what I would say, is that you really have to have a heart for this. And entrepreneurship can be the greatest gift, but it also could be the biggest disappointment. So you really have to love what you're trying to do and be passionate about it. And if you got the work ethic and that kind of stuff, a lot of times that will overcome some other things around capital and things like that. Because you put the time in, you put the time in, you do the work.
I was just going to add something on that as well, because I talk to a lot of people that are looking at going into business for themselves, and that passion. I totally agree with Frank. But one thing I always like to tell people is, you don't always have to go with the most trendiest business opportunity, right? Everyone wants a Chick-fil-A and wants an Orange Theory, because it's so good to say and all that. But there's a lot of profitability in plumbing. There's a lot of profitability in, home services and food, whatever it is, and it might not be as appealing to the naked eye, but they have a lot of profitable options in markets and businesses that may not seem to be so quote unquote sexy, right? So that's one thing I would always make sure people understand.
So Braxton, what about you? What would be your piece of advice to pass on?
Yeah, I mean, kind of to pull it all together from what they've all kind of spoke about is really finding your North Star and that guiding factor for business and your purpose behind it, because there will be times, there'll be great times, and that's the awesome part about being an entrepreneur and a businessman, is that you do see highs, but there are also the lows. But really just embracing the fear and understand that you don't have to look for, like Brian said, you don't have to look for that perfect thing, but just take action over perfection. And that doesn't have to be the perfect business. It has to be something you want to do, and you wake up every day not dreading it, because it's hard to grow when you dread the business. But really believing in yourself also, though, is your number one asset, and to believe in yourself and don't be afraid of taking chance and risk, because that is involved. But just embracing the fear and connecting with like-minded people, like we've already touched about, and just having that support behind you, and it will really benefit business, benefit your growth, and personal and professional growth. So just take action.
I think that's key, taking action, resilience, right? Understanding that when it does get difficult, you have to be resilient in this space. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. When you get into it, there are going to be your ups, there's going to be your downs, but understanding that there just has to be a level of consistency, work ethic, and a desire to succeed, and making sure that we're aligning with people who have achieved it. I think that's one of the best things to do, is find that network and that community of like-minded people will take you a long way. If you're surrounding yourself with people that don't believe, you're not going to believe in yourself. But if you're surrounded people who do believe and have succeeded, then you're in the right space. You're in the right space for sure. And I feel like this group is definitely the right space. You guys have provided a lot of good input, hopefully to help share with somebody else and really inspire them to take the next move. So I would really love this opportunity to allow you guys to kind of end and tell a little bit more about your business. Each of you guys have special things that you guys do. So Brian, if you want to start and maybe talk a little bit more about what you do and kind of close out with that.
Sounds good. Yep. So I am the group vice president of franchise development for a franchisor called Neighborly. Neighborly, we're the largest franchisor of home services, and I am responsible for recruiting people for 7 of our 19 brands. We have a total of 19 different franchise concepts that service the home, and I am responsible for recruiting aspiring entrepreneurs into all 7 of those. So that's my day job. And then at night, I transform into a franchise owner, where I am the franchise owner of Corporate Cleaning Group. So it's a commercial cleaning business where we focus on cleaning commercial sites, churches, schools, daycares, medical centers, etc. And I've been doing that for about 6 months. And it's pretty much a result of everything I tell people during the day of why you should go into business for yourself. I decided to listen to my own self and go ahead and do it on my own. And I'm burning both sides of the candle here as a franchisor during the day and the franchisee at night. So,
Franco, what about you? You want to go ahead and touch on some stuff?
Yeah, so I'm a franchisor. Been in business in the automotive business for 45 years. 40 years, but on this particular side, about 20 years. And what we do, we take odor out of used cars. And this is a business that I kind of fell into after being a car dealer for 17 years. And I never could have imagined a business that's such a profitable business to take a stinky smell out of a car, but that's what we do. And we have franchisees in California and Georgia. We have San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, San Francisco, and 2 in LA. And we're growing this nice little business.
So taking the smell out, the not so sexy. So
the not so sexy, but it's profitable as hell.
And tell them, Frank, I've been preaching, man. Those are the best.
Yeah. So Braxton, go ahead and touch on yours because I know you do a little bit of buying and selling. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I started the Prestige Business Brokers, and we specialize in the Main Street businesses and the low mid market businesses. So we work the sell side and the buy side as an intermediary or a broker per side, and we do the business valuations, exit preparation. And so when you grow and scale a business and want to exit out of it, get another business, we're here for you. Or if you want to enter in a business for the first time, find a business that fits your passion, your desires, get you set up in a Main Street low mid market business. And so that's kind of us. And we're working the Texas region right now, looking to expand after we get our foundation set here. And so that's Prestige Business Brokers.
Okay. And Lily, let's close it in with you because you help everybody. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I work at Frost Bank. Frost Bank is a Texas bank. We're a Texas bank, but it doesn't feel small. We do provide lending to other states also. In my field, I work with clients. I work with relationship managers and the back office to help close loans, right? SBA loans in general. So I do apologize, I'm late, but I do have some advice when it comes to the business side, is that build a relationship with your bank, right? And your relationship manager. I think that's really important. Do your comparison. Go to small bank, medium bank, large bank. Don't just go to one. You want multiple to do a comparison, right? So the relationship with your bank is so important. Walk into the branch, especially if you're going to do business. Have one that actually have a branch that you can walk into. And if you have any issues, any questions, anything like that, make them answer them. So that is why the relationship is always great to have. And that way they help you build the whole entire package, right? Especially at Frost Bank, it's a relationship bank. We don't want to just lend you the money and say, go ahead and go. We actually want to make sure that your business is successful. So we want that relationship, and we don't want to just give you the loan and tell you to go. We want to make sure that we built the whole entire process with you, right? Maybe you'll need a loan in about 10 years. So we want that relationship.
Okay. So I think we're going to end it here. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. This is one of many type of webinars and in-person events. So for anyone who's listening on, I hope you guys stay tuned. We plan to have some in-person events coming up with some of our panelists as well. We're going to hopefully get them on so that you guys can talk to them and engage in them in person. But other than that, I would we're going to kind of close it off. And I think, Jeff, if you're going to close it, let's just close it here. And thank you guys so much.